Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you by my new favorite cup. Oh, my goodness, and look at crypto. Oh, my goodness, I love this cup. Anyway, guys, good to have you guys here. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. Glad that you're joining us here today. I'm joined in studio by Jonathan Voico.
Good morning, everybody.
Writer, director, Agent Cody Banks producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
John, I feel a tremendous sense of relief today.
That's the word, isn't it? Do you know how straight up stressed I've been for the last couple of days?
Not because life is going to hell in a handbasket.
I mean, but the one thing I have to hold on to is the joy of movies. And I've seen so many movies I've been excited about that have disappointed me in the last couple of months. And yes, today is a great sense of relief, guys. Anyway, guys, good to have you here. And here's how today's show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show is when we take your comments and questions. If you guys have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or an issue you'd like us to discuss, as long as we deem it appropriate to be discussed, we do reserve the right not to answer a question if we don't think it's appropriate for the show. But go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/John Campea/tip. And here's the good news about the tip link. It's actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to our podcast, or if you're watching this show a little bit later on in the day when we're not live, you can still send in a question whenever you want. And if you send one in when we're not live, well, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to get things started here. Of course, Superman, it played publicly for the first time last night. Tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of fans across the country got to go see it last night. We were among them. We're obviously going to give our reviews. We've been talking a lot lately about the initial reactions, and we talked about the official reviews that came out. We're going to give our review of it a little bit later. But before we do some movie news to get to here, we're going to start off with this. You know, John M. Chu has very quietly been going about building a hell of a resume for himself.
Yeah.
You know, I loved Crazy Rich Asians. I absolutely loved it. And then he got given the gift of, and the responsibility of bringing Wicked to the big screen. Oh, only $700+ million, 10 Academy Award nominations, or a bunch of award nominations for Wicked, whatever. And now he's got Wicked 2 coming up, but what's he going to do next? Hot Wheels. Anyway, this comes to us from Deadline. John M. Chu to direct a live action, this is what we all been asking for, Hot Wheels movie for Mattel, Warner Brothers, and Bad Robot. Deadline writes, exclusive, after seeing Wicked soar to 10 Oscar nominations, there it is, and a worldwide gross exceeding $756 million, and with the back half of the two-part musical coming up for release in November, John M. Chu has inked a deal to direct a live-action Hot Wheels movie for Mattel and Warner Brothers Pictures. They go on to say, the Hot Wheels is billed as an action film inspired by Mattel's best-selling toy car line, which will showcase some of the world's hottest and sleekest vehicles. Further plot details are under wraps. Imagine that. I don't know what the plot is to Hot Wheels. The project reunites Chu with Warner Brothers and Bad Robot amid their current work together on Oh, the Places You'll Go, an adaptation of the classic Dr. Seuss story, which marks Bad Robot's first theatrical animated feature. All right. I am getting shades of Greta Gerwig on this. Because you remember, I was befuddled, Rob. Befuddled.
Great word.
When after coming out of the #1 box office film of the year, critically acclaimed, all that kind of stuff, Barbie, which was much better than it had any business being. She could have done anything. And what did she choose to do? A Netflix project of Narnia? Now listen, I'm a C.S. Lewis major fan. I am a bigger C.S. Lewis fan.
Could be
than
7
you.
movies, though.
I love C.S. Lewis's writings, all that kind of stuff, but nobody's asking for another Narnia film, and let alone going to Netflix. So I just did not understand that. You're John M. Chu. You kind of got the world by the tail right now. And you're going to have another big success with Wicked 2. Why would you do a Hot Wheels movie? And here's the other thing that confuses me a bit. And this is me casting no shade on Hot Wheels. I collected Hot Wheels as a kid. Obviously I did. But is Mattel in this mindset right now? It's like, hey, we did Barbie. And Barbie made over $1 billion. What other toy do we have lying around? It's going to make $1 billion too, right?
But Barbie's a person.
But Barbie also has a different history
Yeah.
than Hot Wheels. Literally just fantastic little toy cars. So look, you can turn the Lego movie proved to us, Rob, that you can take anything, and if you write a good and fun and engaging story around it, it can be successful. Again, Lego movie, a movie about plastic building blocks, and they made a fantastic animated film out of that. Loved it. So you could do the same thing with Hot Wheels. It just seems to me that Mattel's mentality is, oh, we did it with Barbie, that'll work with any of our toys. I don't know. I'm confused about this as somebody who collected Hot Wheels. I don't know. They're going to try to make a Fast and Furious wannabe movie here. Are they going to cast Vin Diesel as Tom Dorito?
It's going to be, you're going to like it. It's going to be Ryan
minute.
Gosling in that race car driver seat.
Warner Brothers has precedent here, though.
They do.
They got F1 in the theaters right now. But they have another movie, John, that they can point to and look at. A maligned film that is one of the greatest unsung classic films ever made.
Are you going to mention that Robert Downey Jr. film again?
No.
Okay.
Here comes Speed Racer. Dude.
I don't know,
the
dude. That one,
Wachowski Speed Racer combined with F1.
I hated that movie.
Oh my God, it's the best. Come on.
I hated that movie.
Speed Racer is awesome. Awesome.
This is like 11-year-old Rob right now arguing with
Oh
us.
my God, I love Speed Racer. I love it so much. And by the way, it was done dirty on disc.
Done dirty on disc. I
What
have that
happened
movie.
It
got that
had a
movie.
compressed audio track. We need a BD 100. I want Speed Racer in 4K. I want it in Dolby Atmos. Come on, John. Why are you looking at me the way?
I hated Speed Racer.
Oh my God, Speed Racer and F1. There's your Hot Wheels movie.
Listen, if you could, that could be their angle. That could be their amalgamation. But you know what it reminds me of? Okay.
And by the way, do you know what Speed Racer had in it? Ninjas.
That's true. Yeah.
Ninjas.
Okay. That's the formula right there.
Of course, they ruined the car acrobatic team. That was the only thing Speed Racer didn't do right.
Okay. Now I have actually a couple of questions because I'm freezing on a couple of names, but the co-star of Breaking Bad, not the guy who played Walter.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse.
Yeah, who played Jesse again?
Why am I
played
drawing
Jesse Pinkman?
blank on his name? Jesse Pinkman.
Yeah, I'm freezing on Aaron Paul.
Aaron Paul, who was in Need for Speed.
Who was in Need for Speed.
Yeah.
Another thing where it's like, okay, do you really have a story to tell here? By the way, I didn't mind Need for Speed.
I didn't either.
Do you know that was all practical, that movie?
Yeah.
All the car stunts
Dude,
and everything
Gran
were all
Turismo.
it was all, I like Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I like Gran Turismo. That's based on a true story there. There's actually a story there. There's a real life narrative there to tell. And so I don't know, man. I mean, it's like, look.
Ninjas.
You're in charge. Ninjas and their Hot Wheels.
Just saying. I mean,
You're in charge of the studio, and they come to you and say, look, it's not our decision. The decision's been made. We have to make a Hot Wheels movie. But now it's up to you to come up with what's our elevator pitch on it. Now, other than F1 crossed with Speed Racer, what is your elevator pitch for a Hot Wheels movie?
you know the merchandising possibility of Disney's cars?
Oh, yeah.
The Hot Wheels are all AI. They all have personalities.
Okay.
They're distinct AIs, so they're like
so very contemporary issue.
They're like
with
McQueen.
the classic
They're like
toys.
what's the name of it? McQueen.
Lightning
McQueen. Imagine that instead of cars that have mouths and eyes, these are all cars like Kit from Knight Rider.
Yes,
but
and car.
Yeah, and all that. Yeah,
Kit and car.
And it's all of that, and yet with you've got human. They're like the best. It's like real steel, but the cars are the robots, and those are the Hot Wheels because they can do things other cars can't do, like with human drivers. This is my elevator pitch. You asked me to come up with this right on the spot. So
the way you react to Speed Racer is how I react whenever we bring up Real Steel. Real Steel. Awesome. That should have got a sequel.
I'm just telling you.
I was late to that party, and I was shocked at how much I enjoyed that movie.
Real Steel's great.
Okay, so yeah, I'm following you here. Take a contemporary modern issue like AI, take the sensibilities of a Real Steel, merge that in with the cars, and you call it Hot
Yeah,
Wheels.
and the thing is, you have the human characters that are racing against AI.
Ryan Gosling, Jesse
You know, and
Plemons.
can they do that?
Jesse Plemons.
There you go. There, yes, Ryan Gosling, Jesse Plemons.
Yeah.
Yeah, right away. I mean, and you could do that because John.
Directed by Sean Levy.
No, because John
Chu.
Chu's.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And you can get Ryan Gosling. You can get Simu Liu.
Yes,
you know,
you can.
you can get the great hot young cast of beefcake dudes, the Kens. Get the whole army of Kens to play racers from all over the world, and it's all
What's
about.
the name of the lead guy from Crazy Rich Asians? Edward.
Oh, yes, he would
Oh.
be great.
Golding, Henry Golding.
Henry Golding.
Yeah,
That's
but Henry Golding, absolutely make him a driver. And the whole thing is like, it's like what Top Gun 3 is going to be. There's going to be drones. Why have fighter planes when you have drones now? We've seen it in Ukraine. You don't need an air force.
Nope.
So if you can watch AI generated cars on a track, it's humans fighting for we want human drivers, but how do you
got to race against the AI. There's your pitch, guys. Anyway, question is for you. What do you think about this? John and Chu could, like Greta Gerwig before him, could have done pretty much any project he wanted after this, but he wants to do.
By the way, Hot Wheels.
Wheels.
Then you could get Hot Wheels toys and upload your own personality, so your cars would talk in your voice. You know, the Hot Wheels, so you could upload sound bites.
Do you know they have that today? They have that today.
Yeah, I know.
You could do that with your cars. You
My,
can have your car
my-
speak to you in your voice.
My nephew has literally thousands of Hot Wheels. Thousands. I'm telling you, I'm all set. Let's
That'd
go.
be really weird to have your
go.
own voice back at you, though, and like navigation. I'd be like, did I just think that, or did the thing say that?
All right, guys, the question is for you. What do you make of all this? Jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts.
I just have Laura's voice in it, because she tells me what to do anyway. So.
Yeah, the
turn
car-
left.
Yeah.
I said turn left. You never listen.
How come you don't look at the map?
With that down, guys, let's move on to this. You know, speaking of the Barbie movie being the #1 movie of the year, the movie that came in right behind it, also making well over $1 billion, was the Super Mario Brothers movie. Like, that movie just smashed it at the box office when everybody kind of laughed at it, at the idea at first when it was coming out. Well, now, of course, having been, I think, a $1.3 billion film, they're gearing up for the next one to come out next year. And we just got a little bit of insight into really what they're going to be aiming for. This comes to us from comicbook.com. It's like, new Super Mario Brothers movie 2 update is great news for the hardcore fans. And it writes this: during a Q&A promotion of Nintendo's recent general meeting of shareholders, producer, I always mispronounce Chris's last name, Meledandri, I'm going to say that.
Meledandri.
Noted that the movie is going to make the biggest fans a priority. We are hard at work on the next movie, and we're working very closely with the team at Nintendo. It's my hope that the movie will entertain and be embraced by the core fans first, but we also hope that the film will also appeal to new fans who have not yet embraced Mario and the world of Nintendo, said blah, 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 blah. So I'm pretty sure I nailed it. Pretty sure I nailed it there. So, all right. This is something the fans ask for a lot of any property. Appeal to the hardcore fans first. And what I normally rightly say is that you can't do that, because the core fans of X property is too small of a group to make a film successful. Yeah, of course you want to be appealing to the core group of fans, but you also have to have your eye mainly on the wider audience. How do you bring a wider audience in? That's what I would normally say.
Yep.
With a Mario Brothers movie, though, the context changes, because the Super Mario Brothers, who has not played Mario Brothers? Anybody in this room? Anybody watching? Is there anybody you even know in your life that hasn't at some point, whether it's on a Game Boy or a Switch or a Super NES or
Donkey
whatever?
Kong in the arcade, man. That was the first time I played Mario.
I mean, who hasn't at some point played Mario and doesn't have some form? Even your grandparents have some form of a connection to it because they watch their kids play it or their kids' kids play it. This is one of those, and it's very rare. Pokemon is not it. Transformers is not it. A lot of things aren't it. But Mario Brothers is one of those things where it is an IP that has literally touched everybody. And I would dare say, Rob, the strength of the first Mario Brothers movie, and I think you would agree with this, was not its expectations defining narrative depth. The strength of the Super Mario Brothers movie was its familiarity. It was the nostalgia. It was, and a great sense of humor to go along with it as well. It's like, oh, it's the star. Oh, it's that guy. Oh, it's that guy. And listen, you can do that and it go badly, or you can do it and do it well. And the Mario Brothers did it well. And it was charming and endearing all because of that. And like, so when I hear this guy, the head of the studio, say, we are going to target the core audience first, I wouldn't say this for any other property, but for Mario, I would say, darn right you should. Because that's where your strength of your first movie lies. That's where your success in the second movie is going to rely. And so for me, it's the right move. And listen, I didn't love the Super Mario Brothers movie, but I certainly enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to seeing the next one because of that aspect specifically. Anyway, Rob, you hear what Mario said. What do you think about his comments, and what do you think the approach should be here?
Okay, here's what I'm always wary when people talk about the fans.
Yeah, because who are the fans?
Yeah, I think that's a really easy shortcut. That's just something to say. I think what you're really talking about is, do you have an understanding of the property that you're going to adapt? An overall understanding, call it the gestalt of the whole property. Do you get it? And I think the Super Mario Brothers movie did a good job of holistically bringing to the screen that franchise. The people that made it were fans. If the people that are working on something, they can be fans of it, but they also have to have an understanding of classical storytelling at the same time. You have to have both. The fans are going to show up. They're going to be there. But fans don't like to be pandered to either. You know, Snarky J did a video of pandering and nostalgia the other day. And I think a lot of times I don't want to clap like a seal when something shows up that I recognize. Oh, there's that blah, blah, blah.
But a lot of people do.
I
A lot of
hate
people
that.
do.
They do. But give me something that is legitimately a great story that maximizes whatever the IP is to the nth degree. And look, the great thing about the Mario Brothers movie is there was clearly a lot of love for that franchise coming out of Nintendo and coming from everybody that worked on it. And while I didn't think the movie was like the greatest movie in the world, I was certainly entertained by it. I'm like, wow, you know, they did a good job.
They did. It was a good
fun
little film. Yeah.
It was, and I think that's what you want from, oh, we're going to appeal to the hardcore fans. Well, make a good movie. That's how you appeal to the hardcore fans. I don't need weird fan service that you're going to throw in unless it's integral to the plot. And then I can go, wow, you guys really thought about this. You added something that for the hardcore fans, but you did it in a way that's really interesting and really smart. And I think that's what anybody wants when you're translating one IP into another. If you're taking a video game IP and putting it into movie form, you want the video game that you love to be represented. And the problem is everyone tries to change things. You're like, we're going to change. Look at what happened to Assassin's Creed.
Ugh.
But I mean, and that's the whole thing. It was like you've got the virtual reality and you're going, I understand all that. Look, if you just made an Assassin's Creed game set in the past, it would have been fine.
Well, I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. Because I'm glad you brought up Assassin's Creed, because right around in that same era when Assassin's Creed was coming out, there was a little film called Warcraft coming out right now. And I remember looking forward to, we had Assassin's Creed and Warcraft coming. And I remember saying, these are the two films that are going to usher in a golden age of video game adapted movies, right? The problem, I mean, yeah, and Assassin's Creed was just straight up gutter trash. It was just a terrible, terrible movie. But Warcraft, it very much drew from all the lore of Warcraft.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, I think a lot of game fans just think, oh, if you just stick to whatever is in the game, it will work.
But a game's different than a narrative.
Exactly. You know? Adaptation does need to be made, but it's you can stick close to it and it be terrible. You can stick close to it and be great. You can deviate and be terrible. You can deviate and be great. Now, of course, the ideal formula there is stick close and be great. I mean, that's a win for everybody when you can do that. You know what I'm saying? But those were dark days. And by the way, I didn't hate the Warcraft movie. I didn't hate it. I know most people hated it.
There's stuff to like about it.
There is stuff to like in it. But I mean, I just remember for about a year and a half, Rob, that window of time when we were going to get Warcraft and Assassin's Creed, and I'm like, this is it, guys. This is it. And it didn't quite work out to be that.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I just watched, I went to my friend Bill Hunt's house and we watched the first 9 of 10 episodes of the new season of Foundation.
Right.
Now, Foundation is...
Which I cannot wait for season 3.
It's incredible. It's incredible. It gets better every season. But Foundation is not like a direct adaptation of the books. It's a heady adaptation. It uses all the ideas in interesting ways. And season 3 also leans into Asimov's robots work, like the Elijah Bailey novels and the robotics. It's really well done. So I was really looking forward to Henry Cavill getting involved in Warhammer.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the way to do Warhammer is kind of what they've done with the Foundation series, where they could take because Warhammer it's all lore.
By the way, have you ever played Warhammer?
Yeah.
The tabletop? It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, and all the different armies and all the different histories, and Henry Cavill being this huge fan he would have been great. I mean, I still want to see him involved, and the iconography. There's this great Warhammer a fan film that's really cool, and I thought that would have been a great way. And if you approached it the way they approached Foundation, it could be a great show. But you need deft storytellers. You need great writing. And the writing staff of Foundation is terrific, and you could probably give them anything, and they could figure out ways to adapt it in a way. And that's what I would love to see. I mean, I'm not saying that's what happens to Mario 2, but
bring something heavy.
You don't need the Foundation writing staff to work on Mario 2, but if you had that writing staff, it'd be a hell of a Mario movie.
Interesting. All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? They're saying that they really are targeting just the core fans of Mario. But, I mean, when you're targeting the core fans of Mario, isn't that pretty much everybody and really the right way to go? Right. Anyway, whatever you guys think about that, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Getting into the world of DC a little bit. One of the biggest questions a lot of film fans, at least around our circles, have been asking for years now is, where the hell is Matt Reeves' The Batman 2? It's coming. Oh, it's coming. They've been saying for years. It's coming. All working on it. And of course, Matt Reeves is notoriously slow. He works very slow. He works great, but he works slow. Now, the other week, we were all very excited when Matt Reeves posted on social media with him and his writing partner and the cover of his script, The Batman 2. And it was ready to go, and everybody got all excited. But one of the things that a lot of people online had to say, me included, was, don't get too excited. He hasn't even turned it into the studio yet. And everybody knows who works in the film industry, once you turn over your draft to the studio, it is a 95% chance it's going to come back to you with a stack of notes, and then you got to make some changes and stuff like that. So we were all saying, James Gunn has publicly said he hasn't read the script yet, all that kind of stuff. We still may be a long ways off. Well, good news, because according to Deadline, their headline reading, James Gunn confirms that Matt Reeves' The Batman 2 script is finished, and it's great. It's great. And they talked to him a little bit about it, and he just went on. It's like, everybody had to give Matt Reeves his space. This is James Gunn talking. He said, everybody's just got to give Matt Reeves his space. Let him do his work. Let him do his stuff. And now he's saying, I've read it finally. Well, he's the head of the studio, but I've read it and it's great. Okay. This is not a story about James Gunn saying Matt Reeves' Batman 2 script is great, which in and of itself is great to hear. That's wonderful to hear. Here's the real nugget of gold, though.
That's when you do the real world thing.
Yeah. If James Gunn isn't lying, and he has no reason to lie, if James Gunn isn't lying and he actually finds Matt Reeves' script to be great, well, then what that means is that we are at a place that we were not at 2 weeks ago, which is, then they're ready to go. If if James Gunn has gotten the script and he's looked it over and said, yep, and signs off on it, that means we are finally, after years, in a place that they could actually be ready to go. Get the pre-production going, get the sets started to be built, all that kind of stuff. They could be ready to go. Then the big question is still we'll get to the big question in a second. But we could finally be at a spot where they're going to actually get some movement going on Batman 2. But there's two questions, Rob, and I'm going to pose these to you. Question number one is, now that the writer's done the script and the studio has apparently signed off on it, how quick are we actually going to now get this thing? Are we looking at 2027? Are we looking at 2028? I don't know. Miracle of miracles. Could we be looking at late 2026? But then there is still this other big elephant in the room. Is Matt Reeves going to direct it? Because we've heard some whispers and rumbling that he may not be directing it. And we've talked at length about why it may be okay if he doesn't. I mean, obviously we would prefer it if he does. But so question one, when do you think we'll actually now get this movie in theaters? I mean, maybe it does actually beat a Blade movie to theaters. And then number two, do you think ultimately we see Matt Reeves directing it?
I think, well, first of all, if a script is key, and James Gunn has said we're never going to move forward with anything unless I'm 100% on the script or whatever. You
right.
know? If he says it's great,
Which is the lesson he learned from the stumbles over at Marvel.
Yeah, and let's assume the script is really great. It's now July of 2025. These are large movies to do. You know, you really need a solid 2 years to do them. I would say that rather than rush it, I would say maybe the earliest we could see this movie would be Christmas of 2027. The holiday season.
I'll say summer 2027 would be the earliest.
Yeah, well,
but probably Christmas 2027 that's a good date though,
because we're already in Christmas of or summer of 2025.
Yeah.
The problem is they have to make deals with everybody. They have to schedule everybody.
Yeah,
and
the logistics are going to be a nightmare.
The pre-production logistics on a movie like this, even if they greenlit it today, are a lot. We don't know how many people are in it, how many filming locations, all kinds of things are happening. They have to work around the movies that are already in production. So there's a lot of logistics. So I would assume that Christmas holiday 2027 would be the soonest that possible. I mean, you could do it quicker. I just think it
2 years is a reasonable time. They could.
But I don't think they'll be ready to shoot it. I don't think they'd have everything locked down until near the end of this year, which puts it
you're probably right about that.
I would say that I would target May of 2028. That's a comfortable time. And I think, look, we heard there was rumblings that Matt Reeves had some health issues that he was dealing with. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think he probably does after spending all that time. He's a writer-director. I think if the script is great, he probably put his heart and soul into it, and he probably does want to direct it. So I would assume he until we hear otherwise, that he will. If not, he's going to probably definitely be a producer. So,
well, I mean, 100% he'll be a producer.
But I mean an active.
It kind of depends on what is James Gunn's vision for that pocket universe.
Right.
Because clearly Penguin, which Matt Reeves didn't direct, but he had a very big hand in developing
and
that
that's kind of
series.
like the Batman 2. I mean, people forget we got the Batman, and that Penguin series was awesome.
Yeah. So we had the Batman, we had the Penguin. So it depends on what is James Gunn's vision for that. I'm going to call it a pocket universe right now. If James Gunn has real big aspirations for that Reeves verse, he may just very well say to Matt Reeves, listen. I know maybe you've got your heart on directing this, but what I'd really like you to do is start to develop another movie and develop another TV show while we get this Batman 2 movie made based on your script and your work.
Maybe.
And I could see them doing that because, I mean, again, the Penguin is simply one of the best. I think it actually passed Peacemaker for me as the single best superhero comic book based television show ever. I'll say it. I think Penguin was the best comic book based television show ever. And the Batman was brilliant. And he might actually be looking, you know what? He could be looking at Matt Reeves now the way Kevin Feige looked at Gunn and said, because remember, before Gunn left Disney, they had kind of appointed James Gunn to be the head of the galactic
the cosmic,
areas of the cosmic area of the MCU. And Gunn may want to say to Matt Reeves, listen, I don't want this just to be a 1 or 2 project thing. I want you to run this pocket universe. And I want you to really set your energy and your focus on developing all the different stuff. I don't know. I still think it's a 50-50 thing that Reeves directs it.
Yeah.
I hope he does.
I do too. I mean, I would like to see him directed only because I really did like the first. I love the Batman. I really liked that sort of Seven meets Batman take. I thought it was great. I love the actors in it. I love the whole feel of it all. And because we have the Penguin, you know, this Batman 2 would bookend with the Penguin inside of it. You've got 3 things. You've got a trilogy, or, you know, you could obviously, the Batman made good money. And I think the Batman 2 would make even more money.
I agree.
And so, because you have 2 really strong entries into that, so I would like to see Matt Reeves continue on with that. I think that he should, unless health makes it impossible for him to do, which I hope is not the case. But, you know, I'd like to see more of this Reeves verse, and I think, especially after seeing Superman, that no one's going to confuse the 2.
No. Jonathan and I were talking about, again, we'll talk about Superman in just a bit, but after seeing Superman, what a great complementary side universe.
A nice palate cleanser, if you will.
What a great juxtaposition that you've got the DCU proper with this heart and tone. Yeah. And then on this side over here, you'll have this pocket universe of this Matt Reeves-averse with its very distinct tone. I think the 2 would be very complementary.
Yep. Yeah.
I think they would be great. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? James Gunn has said, yeah, the script's got done. I've now read it. And the script is great, seemingly meaning that the studio is signing off on the script. How quickly do you think they can get the ball rolling? When do you expect to see a Batman 2? And ultimately, do you think Matt Reeves will be the one directing it? I hope so, but it's okay if he doesn't. But anyway, whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down, let's talk about this. You know, the gold standard, I've said this forever and I still believe it's true. The gold standard of television, streaming or otherwise, has been and is HBO. HBO is the gold standard. I mean, Apple TV has been doing some great stuff. Netflix does some great TV as well. Paramount, surprisingly, has been doing some great TV. But HBO has always been the gold standard, and they still are. And then there is Max. It's streaming arm. Now, you guys remember, originally Max was called HBO Max. And then for some reason, I don't know, maybe somebody was drunk. Maybe somebody hit the shrooms. I don't know. But some idiot decided to take the name HBO, the most respected name in entertainment. And let's take that out of the name of our streaming service. And they just named it to the idiot title, Max. Now, you guys remember a number of weeks ago, a couple of months ago now, maybe, they announced that they would be reverting back to HBO Max. And today is game day. It's happening. If you load up Max today, you're going to see the new titling. Today is the day that it shifts back to HBO Max. The good folks over at The Hollywood Reporter have written this. The Hollywood Reporter reported on Tuesday that Warner Brothers Discovery would officially rebrand its Max streaming service to HBO Max, which of course is what it used to be called too. On Wednesday, per source familiar with the matter, the name change first announced on stage at WBD's upfront presentation back in May will see Max rebrand to HBO Max, the name it used from 2020 to 2023. I know you're all shocked, but the good news is I have a drawer full of stationery from the last time around, HBO chief Casey Bloys quipped on stage at Upfront. All right. I just feel like we got to comment on this again. I have never understood the mentality behind that name change in the first place. Now, listen, I get the philosophy that spurred it. They thought, whereas HBO is this premium brand, right? This premium brand. I think they had a vision at first, and I don't mind the swing at the bat, that they wanted to turn HBO Max, instead of just a elite premium brand, to be a larger playground with a lot more choice and a lot more options. They wanted to incorporate HGTV, and they wanted to incorporate the Food Network, and they wanted to incorporate TLC, and they wanted to incorporate all that. And listen, when they first said they were going to try that, as somebody who subscribed to all that other stuff too, I was actually kind of happy. It's like, I'd love to have it all under one roof. But they felt that it wouldn't reach its potential if you still had that premium prestige name of HBO on it. And they decided to scalpel out the HBO. Again, the most respected name in entertainment, and you have it in your name, and you decided to take it out. Like, that's ridiculous. Absolutely preposterous that they did that. Now, what has happened? In the preceding years since then, what they have realized is that, you know what? The vast majority of the audience aren't looking for a wider playground. They're not looking for everything in the candy store shoved into one streaming service. That they kind of liked having HBO and HBO Max as knowing its premium content. As David Zaslav has recently said, we have learned that the audience is not looking for more content. They are looking for better content. And nothing says better content more than HBO. And so they did the right thing, correcting their mistake of going back and now retitling it again HBO Max, which is, again, something they never should have moved away from. At least you can say they recognized the mistake, didn't take too awful long to do it, and decided to revert back, especially now as they're getting ready to split up the company and they're going to section off all the television aspect. And they're only going to keep Warner Brothers Studio, HBO Max, that kind of thing. So it kind of makes that a necessity, but it's a good thing to do nonetheless. Anyway, Rob, we've known it's coming. The day is finally here. Your final thoughts, the good and the bad, of them rebranding their streaming service from Max back to HBO Max.
Well, first of all, I do want to point out that we were vehemently against them changing the name.
100% we were.
And we talk. I think we even talked about that they would eventually revert back to HBO Max.
I think we said on that day that
yeah.
I said, I guarantee you at some point they're going to go back.
First of all, the home box office is a cool name. You know, movie theaters had the box office, so you go to buy the tickets. It was always a cool name, and HBO Max is also a cool name. And the funny thing about half this content that they were playing has the HBO logo on the front of it.
Yeah.
The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, Sex
The
and
Wire.
the City,
Yeah.
The Wire. I mean, all their prestige things have boom, you know, and the static thing. It was there the whole time. So you're watching these things, and the idea that it wasn't HBO anymore, yet half this premium content that people binge over and over again says HBO at the front. I mean, most people probably didn't give it much thought, but it was confusing anyway. You know, I mean, and I think that HBO is something, you don't take an established brand that's been around literally for decades, like HBO was. And the entire idea of prestige television was sort of built by HBO over years and years and years. It was earned. So you have multi-generations of viewers who understand that this is, and even if you're new, you know, if you were born in 1995 and you finally discovered, oh, I'm going to go back and watch The Sopranos when you're in high school, HBO is what you're going to see first. And everybody always, look, I get it. We're going to merge. Discovery's going to become part of this. We have to change things to create a new identity. I mean, that's what marketing 101 is. But sometimes you don't have to change things because you already got it. You've acquired something that already has value. Why get rid of the value?
Yeah.
And now cooler heads have prevailed, John. Because you know what? I don't want to watch the Home Shopping Network on the same place that I'm watching
Sopranos.
House of the Dragons and Sopranos. I mean, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
By the way, Home Shopping Network or Renovating Your Home or whatever the hell you're watching, which are good shows. They're good
They're
shows.
guilty pleasures of mine.
I know they're not even guilty pleasures. They're great. I love to see, like, how is this remodel going to turn out? It's like it's got an immediate element of suspense built into it. I got to see what happens at the end. But it's not The Sopranos.
Yeah.
You know, and it never made sense to me.
Yeah, for that to all be under the same place.
There was that episode where they were like remodeling the kitty cat club.
There you go.
But
Like, it was weird that you could you load up Max and like go click on 6 Feet Under
That's
Right.
and click on Sesame Street. That's
that's what kids do when their mom steps in the room. They're like, Sesame Street, what?
6 Feet Under. Like
No, they're watching The Deuce.
And oh jeez. And I remember, and I'm going to admit, at first, like, not talking about taking the HBO name away. At first, I had some optimism about the idea about because I watch all that stuff. So I didn't mind the idea of it being under one umbrella. But I think you're right. I think there's something to be said about the streaming channel you clicking on, knowing what the identity of that channel is and the basic idea of what you're going to get when you go there. And I think you're right. I think cooler heads have prevailed, and I think this is the right move. And here's seeing how it's going to alter.
And the funny thing is no one will even know that there was a period of time when it was only known as Max because everyone thought it was H. I never in my mind ever said just Max. I'd have to go.
Oh, neither have I. Neither have I.
It was HBO Max. I mean Max. I'd have to correct myself. Now I don't have to do that.
I will say it was funny when they first launched HBO Max. I don't know if you remember this, but it was a time. It caused a lot of confusion because even I, who am very well versed in all this, didn't really understand the difference. Because when they first launched Max, you had, if you remember this, you had HBO, you had HBO Go,
right.
You had HBO Now, and you had now HBO Max. Yeah. And I remember looking and saying, I don't know what the fuck the difference is between any of them. I really don't. But they had 4 different identities at the time, and they were kind of diluting the HBO name a bit. But anyway, it's good. It's good to see that they're getting it back to a more stable thing. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Have you noticed it? Loading up Max now, back to being HBO Max. Seeing the new branding, what do you think? Ultimately, what do you think about the era that they moved away? I thought it was a dumb thing to do, but here we are, back to the title. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. You know, a couple of movies recently have decided to adopt the idea, and Superman being the most recent one to do it, where they pick a big fan event and then show like 30 minutes of the movie. Now, they did that for Superman, and the responses from the fans that they showed it to was insane. It was off the charts. Turns out that was justified, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the good folks over at Marvel saw that and thought, you know what? You know what's not getting as much heat as we'd like right now? Fantastic Four. And we think we got a good movie. At least that's what they're thinking at Marvel. Why don't we try that? So they did just that. At a big event down in Brazil, they have now shown 30 minutes of Fantastic Four to fans and critics.
Should we sing that title always?
Fantastic Four! I love that theme. I love that theme so much. It's Giacchino did that one, right? Yeah, Giacchino conducted. Anyway.
By the way, he also scored Speed Racer.
He also scored
Just saying.
Star Trek, J.J. Abrams' Star Trek,
yes, he
if I'm
did.
not mistaken. Just throwing that out there.
Enterprising young men. Pretty good piece.
So they showed 30 minutes of it. How would the responses be? Well, as we go over to comicbookmovie.com, the responses are pretty damn good. They're list off. So to be clear, it's not the full movie. They write here, it's not the full movie, just like we had to warn everybody with those initial Superman things. It was only the first 30 minutes. However, they saw 30 minutes of, by the way, I think I might have mistitled our video. It's not the first 30 minutes of Fantastic Four. They showed them 30 minutes from Act 1 and Act 2.
Yeah.
So it's not one continuous first 30 minutes.
But at least then that you get more of
a broader sense. Right. Because remember, we saw the first 30 minutes of Pixar's Lightyear, and we thought it looked awesome.
And it was the first 30 minutes.
And it was the first 30 minutes, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And then we saw the rest of the movie, and it was not so good, Rob. Not so good. But again, it worked out for Superman. How's it going to work out here? Well, this is what the people are writing. MP Morales called filmmaker Matt Shackman's world building incredible and declared what they'd been shown a cool introduction to the quartet, their powers, and the looming threat of Silver Surfer. Good Nerd wrote, said that the Fantastic Four First Steps might be the best Marvel movie post-Endgame, he added. It feels a lot like The Incredibles. Which a lot of people have always said The Incredibles is the best Fantastic Four movie ever made. He says it feels a lot like The Incredibles, super fun, colorful, and different from other Marvel films. The Silver Surfer steals the show. And then one of the accounts did a more broad explanation. They said this: what was shown not only surprised me, but genuinely moved me. The entire setting of this universe is unique. It's a great gift for the fans. It all starts with an intimacy that we're not used to seeing in this type of a movie. It feels like we're meeting a real family with vulnerabilities, humor, affection, and purpose, which is kind of one of the things we said when we watched that clip for the
Well,
first
that's
time
the funny
other day.
thing. I've been totally turned around since we talked about that, seeing that full clip, and like you were talking about the cutback to the thing and seeing the expressions on his face.
Yeah.
It totally changed my opinion.
So that sounds like what he's going for here. He goes on and he writes, the dynamic between Reed and Sue is one of the highlights. We saw many scenes of the two together, and Vanessa and Pedro are in perfect sync, truly conveying the feeling of a couple that's been together for a long time. Their relationship shows, right from the start, that this movie goes far beyond just showcasing superpowers. Ben and Johnny also shine. Each has a very well-defined personality, and the chemistry between them works from the first moment. The jokes come at just the right time, and you know how it is, Johnny being Johnny. The plot has a family-oriented tone, and this becomes clear with the arrival of Baby Franklin. This is pure Fantastic Four. They're not just facing a major threat. Family bonds are at the heart of the story. The final sequence of the preview I watched is one of those that makes the entire room hold its breath. The CGI? Flawless. And the buildup of danger feels real. You sense the weight of what's at stake. All right. Now, again, it needs to be pointed out that this is just 30 minutes of the movie. These are not people who've seen the entire film, but they've seen more of it than the rest of us have seen. They've seen 30 minutes of it. Some of the things that stood out to me. One, I've been wondering what the CGI is going to look like, especially since we've gotten very little, a very, very tiny look about what Reed's powers are going to look like. Johnny's, Human Torch's powers are always going to look the same. I mean, that's fine. Thing looks really good. I'm going to be interested to see how they pull off Sue's powers a little bit. But they say the CGI is great. I'm particularly interested in one of the people saying that Silver Surfer kind of steals it.
Interesting.
Which is really interesting to me. So we'll see how that. But the main thing to me, Rob, you and I talked about this the other day, about how maybe one of the things that's really going to be at the key for this movie working or not is how well do they sell us on this group of four characters as a family.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen it ourselves. We're talking about third perspective here. But the genuine sentiment seems to be from the people that have seen at least 30 minutes of it is they seem to really conquer that. They seem to really do that well. So listen, is this movie going to be great? I don't know yet, but it is encouraging to me to hear this type of feedback. What's your takeaway from this?
Well, I have to say I'm really encouraged because, to be honest, none of the trailers did it for me. I felt that, we never got there was a disconnect, and I think part of what I was missing was because they've always talked about from the very beginning, even when they were conceiving the Fantastic Four back in the early 60s, that the family element of it was always at its core. That's what set the Fantastic Four apart. They were a family. I never got that feeling from the trailers until we saw that one extended. That clip, it changed the
100%.
It changed the whole dynamic of what we'd seen, and to hear that has changed my perspective. I'll tell you something else. Also, there's the extended scene of Shalabal, the Silver Surfer, when she's the whole thing about I am the herald of your ending. I am the herald of
I herald your ending. I herald. What was the exact line? I herald.
But
your end. I hail the
I
hail
the
Galactus,
coming of
whatever.
Galactus. Seeing that extended scene and hearing her, I'm like, okay, I'm in. I'm like, okay, seeing these little clippy clips weren't doing it for me because you weren't feeling the warmth of the humanity of it all, even when the Silver Surfer's talking. Now you kind of do. And if the movie works on that level, and people are saying, look, when people say it's as good as it's the best Marvel movie since Endgame, I'm like, settle down, Beavis.
Yeah, you've seen 30 minutes of the movie.
We'll see. We'll see. However, with Shackman directing and what he did, what I thought he did with WandaVision was great. I can't wait to see this now. I'm really, really, really excited.
Yeah, I got to say, to your point, again, none of the trailers have moved the needle for me. I already have a natural interest and a certain level of excitement to see Fantastic Four because it's Fantastic Four. I love the cast. I love the director. But the job of trailers is to bump up that excitement, enhance it. And for me, and I'm only talking for me personally, I certainly don't think the trailers have been bad. Hasn't taken away any of my anticipation or my excitement, but it hasn't done anything to move the needle up either. And then that one clip they showed was the biggest impact on me that made me go, okay, now I'm even more excited to see it. And I couldn't say that after any of the trailers.
No, and this is just a subtle, this is just, you're watching a small scene in its entirety as opposed to being cut up. And for me, it was, like you said, it was just the cutaways to Ben Grimm's face and watching his expression change. He's not even talking. And I'm like, okay. And then you realize, what is there? Human emotional connection to these comic book characters. And that's what you wanted. And that's what I wanted from the Fantastic Four that I did not get from any of the trailers. Until that scene.
Until that scene in that clip. And by the way, I saw that they just dropped another clip that's supposed to be a more full version of that Silver Surfer scene.
Right.
But I've chosen not to watch
That's when I was talking about that clip.
Yes,
that's
that's
the
right.
long thing. And
I've chosen not to watch it, though.
Yeah, I don't need to see anything more until I see the movie.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Marvel's taken a little bit of a page out of DC's playbook, who took it out of other playbooks, to be honest. And they decided to show like 30 minutes of Fantastic Four, and the response has been great. Now, we've seen 30 minutes of movies before that we thought looked great, and then the movie ended up being terrible, but it did work out for Superman. Maybe that'll work out for Fantastic Four as well. Whatever you guys are taking away from this, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Last night, I did something that I can't believe has finally happened. Went to go see Superman. Rob, myself, Ray, Ann, our friends Matt and Jay Lynn, Tommy and Ryan, we all went out to dinner first, got ourselves stoked up, walked up the stairs, went into the theater, and we watched Superman. Now, I should point out right now, the people have spoken. I put this out on social media. We'll bring it up right here. As of right now, 85%, which I believe is a number you called out yesterday, Rob. I predicted 82%. You predicted 85.
Settle down, yeah.
And here we are at 85. So the critic score is 85%. The audience, the verified audience score, 96%. You know, it's funny. I was just talking on the show yesterday. We were talking about audience scores, and I said, I never really pay much attention to even Rotten Tomatoes audience score unless it's below 60. I start getting a little concerned if it's below 60. But I don't really get impressed or take note unless it's over 90. Because I won't go into the whole thing again, but I don't really take notice unless it drops below 60 or goes over 90. This thing's at 96% right now, with well over 1,000 fans who went to go see the screenings last night, registering their votes, saying they like it. People like Superman. It just is what it is. There are going to be some people out there that try to paint a narrative that it's divisive. It's not divisive. Clearly, like any movie, there are going to be people that do like it and don't. There's going to be some people that don't like it. Movies are art. Art is subjective. It hits us all in different ways. There are going to be some people that don't like the film, and there's nothing wrong with that. But don't buy into anybody trying to pitch you a narrative that this movie is divisive.
Yeah.
96% ain't divisive.
5 to 6%. Come on. You're just loud.
Yeah. 60 to 40 is divisive. 55 to 45, that's divisive. 85%, 96% is not divisive. But what would we think about it? Because I've had some movies that have had high scores that I've not liked. I've particularly had in the last month and a half a number of films I've been very excited about that I ended up walking out disappointed with. Jurassic. What's that?
Rebirth.
Oh, yeah. Jurassic World Rebirth. Megan 2.0, which I was excited about, and I did not like that movie. Even 28 years later, that I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think 20 years later, but I was hoping for a lot better. What would Superman do? Superman delivers. Superman delivers. It was, I said in my out of the theater reaction last night that it delivered joy, it delivered excitement, it delivered fun, it delivered heart, and it delivers hope. It was the Superman that I think the world of movies really needs right now. Now, listen, you guys know I am a massive fan of Man of Steel. And I actually had somebody say to me, how can you like Man of Steel and like and like this Superman?
It's ridiculous.
It's the same reason I like steak and I like ice cream. They're two totally different things,
yeah.
but I absolutely love them both. And that's great. And I love Henry Cavill's interpretation of Superman. I love what Zack Snyder did in Man of Steel. But that was one kind of flavor. James Gunn delivers a different flavor, and I think it's a flavor that was extremely timely and extremely needed right now. And Rob can attest to this. I was laughing my ass off through a lot of the movie.
You were.
And several times literally yelled out, holy shit. Because, guys, there are a couple things they do in this movie that you are going to hear some people around you go, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like
one in particular.
Two in particular. That is like, I did not think they'd go there. Anyway, we won't go into spoilers here. We're not going to go into any spoilers here. By the way, I will do an open spoiler discussion on Sunday. That gives all of you guys plenty of time. That gives you today, tomorrow, and Saturday to go out and see the movie. We'll do an open spoiler discussion here on the channel on Sunday. David Cornsweet, I don't know that I will ever doubt James Gunn casting ever again. He's never given us a reason to, I mean, everybody looked at him funny. Wait a minute, you got the Parks and Rec guy to play Star-Lord? Like, but that turned out to be perfection. You had John Cena to play Peacemaker? Well, that turned out to be perfection. Casting David Cornsweet as Superman, as this iteration of Superman. He wouldn't have been perfect in Zack Snyder's Superman.
No.
But in this iteration of Superman, he was the perfect guy to cast. We knew from day one, Rachel Brosnahan was the perfect Lois Lane. And she is. She so embodies the spirit of Margot Kidder, I found in that. And I just thought she was an absolutely fantastic. And I can't say enough about Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I really can't. Because he pushes this line sometimes of feeling like this comic booky evil guy. And then he'll do something that makes you hold your breath. And Nicholas Hoult embodied all of it perfectly. One of the big things that we've heard coming out of all the early reactions and early reviews was the term, some variation of the term of, this is the most comic book movie we've ever seen. It is like the comic books literally leapt off the page and onto the screen, right? We've heard a lot of people say that. I get it now. I totally get exactly what they were saying. This was a living manifestation of a comic book, the spirit of comic books, in every way, shape, or form. And one of the things that this movie is unapologetic about is that this is a comic book movie that takes place in a world that's in a comic book. And it's unapologetic about it. And it never pulls its punches on it. And it leans into it, again, unapologetically. And it did not take long for our brains, the people in the audience we saw it with at any rate, for our brains to tune into that. It tuned into it pretty quick.
I have to say, though, John, that did take me a minute. You know, because you have an expectation. We've seen Superman presented on screen a certain way, and I talked about this in my own review last night. And it took me a while to acclimate. And I can't say what scene I was keyed in on it. And like, oh. And it was like I was kind of, it was almost like my shoulder was out of joint or something. And then it finally went into its socket. And I'm like, okay. I have to tell you that there was a moment in this movie, and from remember the very first picture we ever saw of him in the suit where he's putting on his boots
and the alien outside the window.
You don't know what that is, and I didn't know what that was. And I was waiting. What that scene in this movie
killed me
when we were dying. I mean,
we were dying.
I was dying. I'm like this. If you need to know what kind of a movie it is, that particular scene in general, and it goes on and on. And I was just grinning. It was when you get to that scene, a lot of people are going to look, you know what it is? It's like, I love comedies, and I love comedies like Tootsie, character-based comedies. But I also love Airplane and Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. I feel like most Superman movies have been like Tootsie. But this movie has a little bit of Airplane, has a little bit of Ace Ventura in it. And so you can like comedies, but they're like.
But to your point, it's dashes of it, right? It's not like it doesn't go Thor, Love and Thunder, or Spaceballs. Like
No.
this isn't a spoof.
No,
but
it's not
like
a spoof.
Dashes of
But
that.
it's making these big swings. It's totally Silver Age.
Yes.
It really goes into the
That's
Silver
it
Age,
exactly.
where you're zipping between really serious stuff happening, but at the same time, it's bracketed by some crazy super science depiction that you're like, wow, this is a huge, like the cover of something. This is something Jack Kirby would draw, and there's a certain river in this movie, a river. They call it a certain, and I was like, that's wild,
That's
man.
wild. That's height comic book.
Yeah, and I'm just like, this is wild, and then it becomes a big plot point and all this, and it jumps around like this, and I'm like, I've never seen anything like this. And I just found it delightful, but nothing more encompassed the movie to me than that scene that, from the very first picture they ever showed us, with that thing outside the window. That was the one I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
I wonder what's going on, and why is Superman why is he pulling his boots on if that thing's outside the window?
And by the way, I swear, no dialogue, no nothing. I'm not going to give away anything of context or anything like that. But in that scene, Lois Lane is kind of us.
Right.
Because she's talking to Superman, every once in a while she keeps kind of looking out the window, and it's like she's us. It's like, what about what's going on out there?
It's so funny.
And can I say, cause look, everybody knows that out of the 50, 60, 70, 80 comic book movies we've seen, there have been maybe 3 times that I have appreciated romantic chemistry. Tony and Pepper, Peter and Gwen with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, Druig and Makari. I don't like my romance. I don't really care about that. Rachel Brosnahan and David Cornsweet chemistry was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome. I believed that relationship, and they didn't idealize the relationship either.
No.
It's a relationship that has issues, and I just loved their chemistry together.
I was telling you this earlier, my only criticism of the movie is clearly I think the movie was much longer. And there's all these secondary characters that are all great. Like Wendell Pierce as Perry White. He's really shortchanged in the movie. And I'm sure that James Gunn had a cut of this movie that was like 2 hours and 45 minutes, and it was spectacular. But they said, look, we can't do it. We got to cut this movie down. It's the first movie. It's coming out of the gate.
By the way, that's not what we're saying happened. We're saying that's what it felt like.
Yeah, it felt like these characters. Look, Jimmy Olsen has kind of a side story, like this ongoing.
That was gold.
It was gold. It was so gold.
Such
And I'm
gold.
like, I want to see. There's a comic. Darkseid was actually introduced in the comic Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen.
Yep.
The entire fourth world that Jack Kirby created. I want them to make a Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen movie after seeing this film. I'm like, he deserves it. He get all of the characters.
He is an unexpected highlight, though. I was not expecting, I was expecting something from Mr. Terrific, something from Green Lantern, something from Hawk Girl. I wasn't really expecting anything out of Jimmy Olsen, and he was a very pleasant surprise.
I mean, I thought Guy Gardner was going to grate on me. No,
he was.
And
great.
Mr. Terrific is great.
He kind of steals all the scenes.
Oh my God! And even what Isabel Merced got to do, she got just a little stuff, but she's great too. Loved it all.
I love it. Again, not giving any point away, but when you see her throughout the film, you realize all of it, getting to understand her personality, but all of it is leading up to one moment that comes later. That was one of my holy shit moments.
Yeah. I love her. I think she's just got charisma to burn. She's beautiful. Right, her attitude. I mean, she's great.
It's just great. So let's talk about the secondary characters. But you know what? No, since you brought it up, let me go on that first. Because you and I talked after the movie, and I completely agree. The one issue for me with Superman, and I cannot remember the last time I ever said this about any movie. Normally, my number one complaint out of most movies is like, they needed to tighten it up. They needed to shorten this down a bit, take 15 minutes out. It would have been a better package. This is the first time in ages that I came out of a movie and I went, it was too short.
Yes.
It was too short. And
100%.
I 100% agree with you that I feel like James Gunn, again, we're not saying this is what happened, it's just what it feels like to us, that James Gunn was really sensitive about the movie feeling too drawn out and maybe overcompensated a bit. Because one thing you can't deny, this movie moves. Like Anne said after the movie, wait, that was 2 hours? I'm like, I thought it was 90 minutes.
It felt like it was 90 minutes.
It feels like it's 90 minutes because it moves so quick.
You know, I read in some article, I don't know if this is true or not, that the movie opened originally when it was cut together, showing like a week in the life of Clark, of Superman, like day to day to day, and they abandoned that structure. I could believe that that's true. Like, I'm sure editing this movie, they probably look. People don't understand when you shoot what you've got, but you rewrite a movie in the edit bay. A movie's written 3 times: on paper, during production, and in the edit bay. I'm sure he had so much gold to look at with all these actors, because the actors. Yeah. I thought Nathan Fillion was going to annoy me as Guy Gardner. He did not. It was hilarious. He killed it, and all the actors were so much fun. I'm sure for James Gunn trying to put this together, going, God, there's gold in them Dar Hills, and I mean, there was not. Everything was hilarious, and the tones were shifting from moment to moment, and it all worked. I mean, this movie was delightfully entertaining to me.
And let's talk about Eddie for a second, who I always butcher his last name, as Mr. Terrific. Love that they were putting Hot Girl in, Guy Gardner's Green Lantern. I was like, really? You're going to use Mr. Terrific? Really? Can't imagine this movie without him.
Oh, he's so good.
There's a scene that you do see in one of the trailers when like he's got a bunch of soldiers around him and he puts like this force field around Lois. There's a clip of that in one of the trailers. Fabulous scene. That is like all Mr. Terrific. And what they do with the cinematography in that scene, whereas other filmmakers shake the camera to try to create this fake sense of energy. What the cinematography does in that scene, though, this highlight marquee Mr. Terrific action sequence, is that they move the camera, and it's in such a way that you feel disoriented with it, but you're actually seeing everything that's going on. And it created this kinetic energy as you're watching it. And like our audience loved that scene. That went over really, really great. So he was fantastic, guys. And I gotta say, I said this in my out of the theater reaction. Again, I confess, a year ago when it came out that they were putting Crypto, the super dog, into this movie, I said, guys, that's a step too far. It's a step too far. I want lighter. I want like something joyful, but I think putting in the super dog is a step too far. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Every time Crypto was on screen, you heard in reactions from the audience in our crowd. I ended up loving that damn dog, and boy, does he have a payoff at the end.
You know what? I have to say, there's people that are spoiling everything. You know, the people that are angry about certain things. You know, I was thinking to myself the whole movie. You're thinking to yourself, okay, you're watching this, and Crypto has a cape, and Crypto has this little, little dog tag with the S symbol. Yeah. The payoff at the end.
Oh my God!
When you find, I mean, especially if you know people have dogs, it was so perfect. It floored me. And again, if you bought the bit, if you buy into this world, and I think a lot of people might not, but if you do, I mean, there's so much in this movie that I can't wait to see it again. But that in particular killed me.
Oh my God!
Because when you're like, of course he has a cape.
That happens.
Of course he has a cape.
And can I say, Alan Tudyk as number 4. Oh yeah, as the droid number. Now I said, Mike, listen, I loved Alan Tudyk as the droid, loved him. But when I came out, I said to our group of friends, where all of us are standing around, and I said, the one thing is, he's really just K2SO. Not because he's a robot, but he's actually talking just like him and says exactly what K2SO is.
Yeah, it sounded like him in the trailer.
But Ann turned to me and said, yeah, and? Because it's like, it worked. Right. He's got a line at the end of the movie that he's funny throughout the movie, but he's got one line near the end of the movie that just, again, absolutely killed me. I love that. The Miss Tessmacher, straight out of the Christopher Reeve kind of spirit of the movies, was great. And she's
But
got
updated.
kind of, but updated
For the modern age.
and has her own little sub story going on, which was wonderful. Again, man, this is just a wonderful, joyful film. Now, let me say this though. And I like to preface this on all movies that I really love, but particularly this one. This Superman movie is not going to be for everybody. There are things about this Superman movie that you hear me explaining that are reasons why I love it. But for some people, depending on your sensibility, the reasons we love it might actually be the reason somebody else doesn't like it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Here's an example, right? Somebody could say, John, you got to try these wings. They got this great spice to it that really kicks. I hate spicy food. I don't know if you knew this, but I cannot eat spicy food. I hate spicy food. So the whole reason you are loving that chicken wing legitimately will also legitimately be the reason I don't like the chicken wing, because spice works for you. Hot spice works for you, but it does not work for me. And therefore that wing will not be a positive experience for me. I think the vast majority of people are going to love this movie, as is being proved out by the numbers. But at the same time, I think there are going to be well-meaning people that go into this movie hoping to have a good time, and the tone that James Gunn decides to adopt that works for most people is just simply not going to work for them.
Oh, yeah.
And this is not going to be a movie for everybody, Rob.
You know, I really was reminded, like the Justice League. I loved the Justice League when I was a kid. And even though there was the Super Friends cartoons and stuff, I took the Justice League seriously. In the mid 80s, post Crisis on Infinite Earths, they came out with a new Justice League comic that Keith Giffen and J.M. DeMatteis did. And it was comedic. Kevin Maguire drew it.
Right.
Guy Gardner was it was straight up comedy. I was loathing this comic. I was like, how dare you make it? I loved it. I loved that comic. It was great. And sometimes it went too far, but it introduced, this movie is that Justice League comic. It is that, the Keith Giffen, it is that Kevin Maguire thing. I saw a picture, Kevin Maguire, I follow him on X, we follow each other. I saw Kevin Maguire at the premiere, a picture of him. I wanted to contact him and ask him. I'm like, dude, you must have been sitting in that theater with a gigantic grin on your face, because he changed the way superhero faces were drawn in comics forever.
Yeah.
And that's what this was. And if you like that comic, and I bet people are going to go get that comic that never read it before. There's great omnibus editions, because you get that feel. And that's clearly what James Gunn was going for. That is not what everybody wants. It's not what everybody wants. But I loved it. And seeing it writ large on the big screen, I had no idea. Like, they had a really interesting government component in this movie. That was really neat how they handled that. Again, I could have seen that more expanded, but there was, like, Lex Luthor is addressing the government at one point. I'm like, this is really interesting. And it was really, I was fascinated by the world itself. And I could have sat there for another 2 hours.
I'm going to say, somebody in the live chat, like Yachi in the live chat, saying, John, that's what divisive is. No, it's not. If that's what divisive is, then everything is divisive, because there's not one thing that everybody loves. Divisive is when it's like half the people like it,
except ninjas.
Except ninjas. No division there. But I mean, when you got 95% and 85%, that's not divisive.
Right.
Like, if you're saying if even one person out there doesn't like something,
you
that's
divided
divisive.
us.
Well, then every single thing in the world is it's not divisive at all. But I also got to say, you know, Rob, when I'm looking back at the movie, I'm not saying this is the greatest comic book movie of all time. I'm not even saying yet that it has supplanted Man of Steel as my all-time favorite Superman movie. I'm just saying this was a great, joyous, fun experience. And it delivered on its promise.
It was wildly entertaining. You know, I did not expect, the messianic. You know what's really interesting? You know, the Superman, his suit. You know, people have been talking about his suit. They don't like the trunks.
Right.
I don't like
By-
the trunks.
By the end of that movie, his Superman suit is perfect for that universe. And he looked like when he's being taken out in shackles, you've seen that picture everywhere. I mean, I'm like, it all works. Even the Justice Gang, their Maxwell Lord.
So good.
It all works. I mean, it all, for what it is in context. Look, there's going to be a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that want to, like, you know, when you cosplay characters, you want to cosplay because you want to feel like you're Wonder Woman or Superman or whatever. This is a different flavor of that. I know people will be cosplaying these characters, but it's a different vibe.
By the way, I got to throw this in there too, because I've seen some people say, "Oh, this sounds like a movie that's really more aimed for kids." It's really not.
No.
It's really aimed more for adults who have read Silver Age. But more than this, like a couple of our friends who came to this movie, like after the movie, we were talking, and they got a son, you know, and a good kid, and like they were saying, I don't know if we can show him this. Because again, I'm not going to go into details, but there's some stuff some parents may not want their kids seeing. Like that, I was like, whoa. Like, so I just think James Gunn understood the assignment and he delivered. It is the fulfillment of the promise of Superman. And I said this in my Out of Theater review, Rob, but this is the greatness of this Superman. The greatness of this Superman does not come from his power, because forces of nature have power. The true weight of this character, and when I found myself most sitting up in my seat, is his character. It's his morals. It's his kindness. It's his goodness. It's his empathy. It's his moral North Star. That by the end of this movie, I said something that I haven't felt since, gosh, maybe one of the early Chris Evans Captain America movies. I felt inspired to be a better person. When's the last time you were able to say that coming out of a comic book movie? Like watching this Superman, this make-believe character in these stupid red trunks and whatever, and say, this guy on screen inspires me to want to be a better person. And that's where the power of this movie is, Rob, for me. Like, the joy of it is great. The humor is wonderful. The action is great. But for me, at the end of the day, the power is I walked out of that, kind of like the way I walked out of that Mr. Rogers documentary going, damn it, I want to be a better person. That's what this Superman did for me. And to me, that's the true strength of it. So, by the way, Metamorpho was great too. I just want to throw
Metamorpho was great. I mean, another thing I was like, oh, you know, no, Metamorpho actually has a scene that actually instilled me with a little bit of awe and wonder. He does something in the movie where I was like, wow, what a cool way to utilize. Look, as a lover of that Justice League comic from the mid '80s, I that's what this was. And I think to know that going in, there was just little things. There was lots of mayhem going on, right? There was one moment with Crypto where we just kind of catch up to where Crypto is. Like, where's Crypto? And there's a scene that shows it's just one shot, which was hilarious. I'm like, of course, that's where Crypto is.
I
loved it.
I just can't get over. And you know what? A part of my reaction, I confess, a part of my reaction is the word you started off the show with today, Rob, relief. Like a part of it is just like, because remember, I've said forever going, I don't need this to be the best comic book movie ever made.
Yeah.
I just need this movie to be good. It delivers more than that. Again, it's just such a fun, different kind of, I've never seen a comic book movie like this. At least not one like this that's delivered on this level.
I'll tell you one thing, though. I can't wait to see more movies set in this universe.
Oh my God, me too.
I mean, I was just
what I was just thinking, because you said, I can't wait to get back into this. I'm like, well, Supergirl's going to be right.
Okay. Yes. All I'm saying is, boy.
Listen, it's not it's public knowledge. They put it out that Supergirl does appear in the movie. Our audience lost their minds. I can't speak for every movie theater is different. Your movie theater might have been quiet, but our movie theater, with the words, "Your cousin is here." All this, and then what I'm not gonna say what happens. And our audience went crazy. There was a big reaction out of our audience.
Again, look, it's the tone of this movie. What you are expecting.
Hey, Frankie, stop spoiling. Guys, they publicly announced that Supergirl was going to make. We've talked about this for months.
Multiple times we've talked about
this is not a spoiler. This was public knowledge, all right?
It's Millie Alcock. Spoiler.
And they're putting.
We've only known for like a year.
There are people. Here's a funny thing. If you were to just list what a lot of the stuff that happens in this movie, if you were just to put it out on paper, a lot of people would be like, "What is this goofiness? Like, what is this?" But if you watch it in context, you've got to watch it in context, and you got to go in with the right attitude about what you're going to see, because I was delighted by most of it. I just thought it's wildly entertaining, and it was so different than what you might expect. But there's going to be a lot of people that don't vibe with it. I understand, but I did.
I see. That's the thing. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people who don't vibe with it, but there are definitely going to be some, and legitimately so. We are already seeing bad faith actors out there who have been cheering and wanting this thing to fail.
Sure.
But there are going to be a number of people too that legitimately with right intentions are going into this movie hoping to have a good time, and it's just not going to click with their sensibilities. That's art, man. That's art. And there's going to be some of that, and I get it. But that thing that maybe for them makes it not work, for me is what made it work. And I remember, like, my wife, when we walked out, dude, Ann said, "I am pissed off that we don't just get to walk right back in and watch it again tonight." It's like, yep, we got to wait till Thursday, and we got our tickets for tomorrow. So
I'm gonna have to wait till Thursday, like me,
like you. Gotta do that anyway, guys. The question is for you. What do you think? Hey, many of you guys, I'm sure, were at one of the tons of screenings around the country to go see this last night. If so, what did you think about it overall? What do you think about these ridiculous scores it's getting? 95, 96% from the audience, 80 plus, 85% from the critics right now. Those movie numbers may move up or down a little bit, but I think it's going to be close to those when it's all said and done. Whatever you guys think about all that, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time to us to say adieu to Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, thanks so much for being here, sir. Great job as always.
Thank you, sir. That was fun.
And of course, now it's time for us to move on to take your comments and questions. We got a bunch we got to get caught up on, so we're going to get things moving on that right now. So, Jonathan, what we got up first?
Sam Fisher. I read the comic book that was mentioned in that one review yesterday, Action Comics 775. Great pull at Supes versus Manchester Black and the Elite, and really goes into the morality of saving every life you can versus the ends justify the means.
There's a really, really great, they hint at it they don't just hint at it, they show us parts of it in one of the trailers where they're debating, like, where Superman gets frustrated because it's like, he went and saved some lives, and people saying, "Oh, but did you do the right thing by saving people's lives?" And he's like, there were people, like, why is this even a topic? Why is this a discussion? People were going to die. And they really delve into that maybe it is a little bit more shades of gray than black or white than what Superman wants it to be. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it is more black and white than the way the rest of the world wants it to be. I know, it really addresses it well. All right, what's next?
Danito, the amount of times I've seen the phrase paid shills today is just embarrassing.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, whenever, one of the saddest, most pathetic thing about people, like, look, everybody knows I didn't like Jurassic World Rebirth, right? So what do I say when somebody comes on the show or whatever and writes in a note saying, "Oh, I really enjoyed Jurassic World Rebirth"? I go, "That's awesome." Art hits us in different ways. Art is subjective. It hits us in our sensibilities, and it strikes us in different ways and has different impacts on us. And if you like Jurassic World Rebirth, that's awesome. That's great. It really says something about how pathetic somebody is and how absolutely just shitty they are when somebody likes something they don't like, or the opposite, doesn't like something they do. And instead of just going, "Hey man, I disagree," they actually have to try to figure out a way to attack the person. Like, my I think my out of theater review has something like 1,000 comments on it. But like seriously, like a good out of the 1,000, there's probably like 30 or 40 of them that are, instead of, oh man, I disagree, I wanted to like the movie more. Those are good, but it's like, and this is one of the things that is killing movie fandom and killing us as a race, to be honest, as a species. It's killing us when you have such mental invalids like that, who's like, oh, you like something that I don't want to like. Instead of discuss, they attack the person, they attack you for liking it. You like that movie? Well, you must be paid. Dude, I don't even go to press screenings. I don't even go to press screenings.
Because they send it to your house, because that's how paid you are. Right to my brain. It is the height. You are a truly pathetic, weak, insignificant, insufferable little piece of shit when you feel the need that you have to attack somebody for liking something or for not liking something that you do. Yeah.
Movies are subjective, man. Like, people are going to like things that you don't, and people are going to not like things that you do. And that's great. That's part of the beautiful thing about the movie experience. But, you know, somebody got really mad at me. Somebody got real mad at me. Oh boy, did they throw a little hissy fit. Because somebody wrote, how much did WB pay you to say that? And I said, about the same amount your mom charges for a blowjob behind the Walmart.
Accurate.
And boy, did they get mad.
They literally got mad at a your mom joke.
Fuck you. It's like, well, what did you want?
Got mad at a your mom joke, which have been around for decades. Like, come on.
I mean, come on. Like, what did you expect? I mean, and by the way, your mom offered a good deal. Anyway. Okay. Anyway, let's go on. What's next?
I think it's 50% Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yeah, 50% off on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Okay, what's next?
Bright says, Blood Meridian is my all-time favorite book. And apparently pre-production has started on the film adaptation. Not going to lie, I'm worried because to me, the book is unfilmable the same way as Watchmen or Berserk. John Hillcoat directing, so I have hope.
I have no idea what the book is.
I don't either, but I liked Watchmen, so...
Yeah, I don't. But like when you talk about, there's one. Let me see if you can guess which one I'm thinking about, Jonathan. When I think about an unfilmable book, the one book that always comes to my mind is the Silmarillion.
Oh,
like it's undoable. Like maybe you could tell it in the sense of a 5-season streaming show, but like a lot of people make a movie out of the Silmarillion. It's like you can't. I don't know how you possibly can make a coherent.
It's not a traditional,
and it's not told in a traditional way. It's not traditional storytelling.
It's not a linear story.
No, and it's so much lore and time shifting, and it's just. But that's the one I think about when I think it's like completely unfilmable.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Stephen Stanley, not a question, but I watched Star Wars movies 1 through 6 with my 3-year-old daughter, and she loved them. Proud dad today.
That's a good day, man. That's a good day. Even if a couple of those are the prequels, that's fine.
Yeah.
The kids love what they're going to love. No, that's great. I still, man, I just don't know. If I ever have a kid, what I would do if my kid says to me, I don't like Star Wars. I remember, I'm not going to say who it is, talking to a friend of mine who brought their kid to Disneyland and took him into Star Wars thing, right? And like, the dad loves Star Wars. And I took him in and showed him stuff. So, isn't Star Wars great? And the kid was like, eh. Now, he didn't say this in front of the kid. He's just telling us a story. He's like, John, that's when I realized my kid's an asshole. Like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with it if I have a kid that doesn't love Star Wars. I don't know what I'm going to do about it. All right, what's next?
Maybe he'll like it as he matures. Mike Halsey says, can I just get a 2-hour movie with only crypto in it, please? I think that would be amazing. Maybe a cartoon series to come.
Yeah, see, I think the thing about crypto is that he's great because he's used the way he's used. I think if it was all nonstop crypto all the time, I think I would have tired of it. But because they used crypto the way they used him, like little pops here and there, that's what made it work so well. And again, I have to say I was wrong. I thought it was a terrible mistake to put crypto in the movie. I was wrong. It worked incredibly well. All right, what's next?
Benology says, I'm very keen to see this tonight. However, I do have my reservations, hoping it will be good and hoping everyone enjoys it. Interested in all the conversation once people have seen it.
Listen, the very fact that I've been stressed out about it speaks volumes to how I've had reservations. Like, again, James Gunn has never let me down, but I did a video, an open mic last week that was basically 5 reasons Superman will be awesome and 5 reasons why it might not be. And in the 5 reasons why it might not be, I kind of cover the ground about the things that give me a little bit of pause. Like, this could go wrong, and this could go wrong, and this could go wrong. So reservations are completely understandable. I agree. Just, again, with me, great relief that it all seemed to work out. All right, what's next?
Old Danny Boy says, like most people, I'm very excited to see Superman. How excited? I got tickets for tonight, Thursday, Friday, and
Wow.
Sunday. Would go on Saturday, but have to take a break to see Theo Vaughn.
Listen.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, my wife literally this morning we were talking and she was like, well, when are we going to get tickets for Friday and Saturday? Because we got tickets for Thursday. I'm like, hey, baby, if you want to book tickets for us for Friday and Saturday too, let's go. Let's do it. What were you going to say?
Oh, no. Well, now I forgot the movie, but there was a movie recently where people are like, oh, I went and booked like 3 days this weekend to go see it. And I had it in my head, but I forgot it. So,
and then maybe it didn't work out so well.
Well, no, it was a big one. Yeah.
All
I
right.
can't remember what it was now.
Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted you.
Oh, it's okay.
All right, what's next?
Mr. I says, all hail Black Sabbath. I've been watching the clips from the final Black Sabbath with their original lineup. Black Sabbath and Ozzy has earned their retirement, especially with Ozzy's and Billboard's current health. Current health. Did you
Current health.
Did you see that Jason Momoa hosted the event and during oh yeah, I saw this. And
Yes,
Pantera
I did see this.
When they were playing Walk, Jason Momoa went into the crowd and got in the middle of the mosh pit. Looked like he was having a blast.
Yeah, I did see that went viral. I mean, that went all over the place. Jason Momoa truly seems like a dude I just want to hang out with. I don't think that about a lot of movie stars, but there's a couple of them that I think that dude would just be fun to hang out with on a weekend. And that video is certainly an example of that. All right, what's next?
Cultured Insight. Hi, John. AMC has been making a lot of moves recently to help their customer relationship. I'm not saying they definitely saw your email or anything or any videos, but it's definitely possible. The rant and the no concession stand is working.
Look, make no mistake about this. Let me be very, very clear. I am a nobody, all right? I am a fucking nobody with a tiny YouTube channel doing videos from a converted garage, okay? I have zero impact and zero influence. I have no delusions about that. I am an absolute nobody. That being said, I have had a number of general managers of AMC theaters writing to me saying, letting me know that certain videos you did have been making their rounds like around AMC. So, and of course I've worked with AMC. Listen, in as much as I get very frustrated with a lot of stuff that AMC does, and I do, and rightfully so, because they've done some really stupid things, there is always going to be a very special place in my heart for AMC. There's always going to be a part of me that loves AMC. My time with them, it did not end well, but my time with them was great. And so many good memories and so many great people. Like not just my own team, but like the AMC staff that I got to know and work with and was just wonderful. So yeah, I maybe because that connection is part of the reason why when I say something, I do know for a fact it makes its way around AMC. But it's not because I'm important, because I'm clearly not. It's just maybe because I was a guy who used to be there. I don't know. All right, what's next?
Mega Red. So hyped for Superman tonight. I started following your show when the movie was announced in 2022.
Nice. Your
community is great, and I've enjoyed following the movie together. This is going to be an unforgettable night.
Yeah, I hope you have a good time. Like any movie ever made in history. You could be going in to see The Godfather tonight for the first time, and it's not 100% guaranteed that you're going to like it. So maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. But I think there's a very good chance. 96% of the people think there's a pretty good chance that you're going to enjoy it, and I hope you have a blast, man. And thanks for being one of our relative new followers here, man. We appreciate that. All right, what's next?
Anonymous. Game week, Superman and Dexter on Thursday.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, I would not have cared about Dexter coming back because that stupid Dexter
Blood, First
New
Blood,
Blood?
or New Blood,
New Blood, that Dexter New Blood, whatever it was, the one they did with his kid, and he gets shot in the forest. That sucked. And I love Dexter. So I'd given up on Dexter. And then they came out with the Dexter prequel series called Dexter First
Original Sin.
Original Sin. Thank you. I was going to say First Wank, but yes, Original Sin. That's it. Dexter Original Sin. And it was wonderful. It was really good, and kind of then ends with a lead in into the new series. And so I am suddenly very reinvested back in Dexter. And they're starting off, by the way, with a 2-episode premiere this Friday. So I'm looking forward to it. All right, what's next?
All right. Wild Coyote says, hi, John and Jonathan. My dream DC movie is an adaptation of Kingdom Come. How likely do you think this could happen in the future? This
Zero.
Of this DCU, would you personally want to see the adaptation?
I would, but nobody would be there. Like they're not going to make this. The thing about Kingdom Come is that Kingdom Come is not a story anybody can just pick up Kingdom Come and read. Kingdom Come is a story that comes along with needing a certain prerequisite amount of knowledge of the comic book world in order to get what's going on in the story of Kingdom Come. And like King Daddy Goat is saying in the live chat, you have to build, you can't even build to it. You really can't. You're talking about the DCU, this brand new DCU would literally have to be around for 15 years to even begin to think about having something that even resembles Kingdom Come. Again, Kingdom Come is magnificent. I love it. But I don't know that it's something you can just make a movie out of. I really don't. I would go see it. It would be a very, very difficult one to do, and because I just think too many people would be lost. All right, what's next?
Anonymous. When do you think we'll know the exact box office for Just Tonight, or will they not release that and just lump it together with the upcoming weekend? It may not even be in the...
No, what'll happen is, how we'll know the actual box office from tonight will be this. Sunday evening, when the official opening weekend box office numbers come out, you'll go to Box Office Mojo. And let me show you an example of this right now. If I go to Box Office Mojo. Okay, so let's bring this up. Now, for one, let's take Elio, for example. All right.
Oof. Somebody take Elio.
Yes, somebody please take Elio. Okay, look. What will happen is sometime Sunday evening, instead of Elio, you'll be on the Superman page, okay? And over here, you will see the opening weekend number. Now, normally, the opening weekend number, if you look on the Sunday night, the opening weekend number there will be the same number as domestic, right?
Right.
If you're looking on that Sunday night, the first Sunday night, the domestic number should be the equal number of where it says opening. But the number will be different for Superman because we had those screenings last night. To figure out what the total of last night is, here's the math you're going to do. You're going to take Sunday evening, the domestic gross number, and you are going to subtract it from the opening weekend number. The resulting number will be the amount of money it made from last night. So for argument's sake, let's say its opening weekend number is 80 million and its domestic number is 98 million. Well, 98 minus that 80, you'll know that last night the movie made $18 million. So that's going to be your math on Sunday and only Sunday. Sunday night is when you go check that, and that's how you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, what's next?
Andrew, would Jurassic World Rebirth have been a better movie with the extra set pieces where they killed off the family and Johansson and Ali have to live with the consequences of saving them and bringing them to the island? Plus, would a studio ever sign this off?
A studio could have signed off on that. Listen, there's 1,000 things they could have done to make that movie better. But yeah, I think that's an interesting sounding pitch where they they save the family. But I don't know, how guilty do you feel about saving the family? But then, yeah, you do feel guilty about bringing them to the island if they just end up getting killed there anyway.
I mean, you can't turn around. You're on a mission, so.
I think that could have been an interesting approach. That could have improved the film. And again, it would all be depend on how they wrote it and stuff like that. But then again, there was a lot they could have done to improve this movie. All right, what's next?
Garden Variety shows Lambert's great acting skills, that he's best known as a Scotsman from Highlander, Chinese as Raiden, and a British gentleman, Lord Greystoke. Where's his Oscars?
Nobody bought him as a Chinese guy.
It's pretty awful.
Nobody for a
actually.
second. Like, did he convince the people he was a Scotsman in Highlander? Absolutely. Did he convince anybody he was of Asian descent in as Lord Raiden in Mortal Kombat? Not a chance. Not a chance in your life. But he did do a great job in Greystoke. By the way, he's got another great little one called The Sicilian that I would highly recommend. All right, what's next?
We got Potion Seller. John, I absolutely loved Superman. It was fantastic, heartwarming, and overall great time. The movies, couldn't stop smiling. I understand I understand what people said about the pacing issues, but I didn't mind it at all and thought the CGI was great. You'll love it. Well, obviously this was just, yeah.
Yeah, I personally didn't have... we had a number of people say at some points the CGI is a little wonky. I personally didn't experience that myself, but which is fine. Ball, just an absolute ball. I had watched this. I cannot wait to go watch this movie again on Thursday. I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Appreciate that. All right, what's next?
Okay, Garden Variety says, while no Gen Z or Alpha, I am on conference calls often while in Starbucks. I tap my earbud as a sign of being on a call, and this is not uncommon from what I see as who raises a phone to their ear.
All right, so that's a reference to, we were telling a story the other day. I saw this video that totally made me feel old. It was like, they asked some adults, how do you hand signal that you're on the phone? Then they asked younger kids, how do you hand signal you're on the phone? What's it like if you're using your phone? Show us what it's like if you're using the phone. And they did this. Because they don't have phones shaped like this anymore. And it's like, that's the thing that made me feel old. All right, what's next?
Sci-Fi Extremist, Superman, I felt the most like picking up a DC comic book on film. Was it perfect? No, but it was fun escapism. My only real problem is it felt too rushed. I want more of the characters, and the trailers gave a lot away, but the cast is perfection.
The cast is incredible, and I would agree. My one complaint about the movie is I think there were a number of parts of the movie where they could have let it breathe a little more. Like, the story was well served, but like Rob was pointing out, like Perry White, right? You definitely could have given him a few more moments. You could have given, there were also a couple of scenes where the scene did its job, it fulfilled its purpose, it got across what it needed to get across, and then they moved on. But like, there were a couple of moments where I was feeling like I could have lingered here a little while longer. I could have given this part a little bit more room to breathe. Like, look, do I think this movie should have been a half hour longer? No. But did it feel kind of quick? Yeah. Yeah. And listen, if my biggest complaint is that I wanted more of it, that's a pretty good thing. But it is true. There are times that it felt like it was maybe moving a little too quickly. All right, what's next?
Also, no spoilers, but the ending has me so excited for the rest of the TV and movies, DCU.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, like Rob said too, like this movie has really got me excited about where this DCU can go. This is the movie the new DCU needed. A movie that was going to really win over a lot of the people who had abandoned DC, and this movie is already doing it. All right, what's next?
We got Canon, who said, or the Canon, two-parter. Superman is as James Gunn as it gets. For me, that's a negative. For many, it will be a slam dunk, and the middle will be pleased. While I hated the Gunn hire, I told myself to hope for the best, and the only win they need is to build a good universe. I feel the movie succeeded at building the universe and making a Superman worth watching, so it's a win overall for DC fans like me. Now my only hope is Gunn never directs a main character property again and stays far away from Lanterns.
Well, I mean, he's obviously going to be involved in everything that gets made because he is the head of the studio. But I mean, listen, that's the thing, right? How do I put this? If you go to a Tim Burton movie and you hate all Tim Burton movies, there's not a very good chance you're going to like the next Tim Burton movie. Right. I mean, you might, but there's a pretty decent chance you're not going to like if you already know that Tim Burton's storytelling style isn't for you. But that's true of every filmmaker, right? I know people who specifically don't watch Quentin Tarantino movies because his style of storytelling doesn't work for them. I clearly love Quentin Tarantino myself, but there are people who don't, and that's fine. And yeah, if you're already somebody who's like, I hated Slither, I hated Guardians of the Galaxy, I hated Peacemaker, then guess what? That means that James Gunn's sensibilities are not going to be a good match for yours, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's that, I mean, that's a truism for every filmmaker, really. All right, what's next?
My back. My back. Would it still make sense if Gunn kept the title Superman Legacy?
No, I'm glad they changed it to Superman. Well, okay. I guess I could kind of see where the title, it has something to do with his parents. I could kind of see how the title could have made sense, but even then it would be a bit of a stretch. I think just going with straight up Superman was the best call. All right, what's next?
Doogie Shoes. Hey, y'all. After the recent comments from Mahershala Ali and the lack of updates for Blade, I hope we get a John Schnepp-like documentary on what happened with this movie. This is worse than World War Z and Ant-Man. Although, can I just say, his comments were taken out of context.
Oh, when he was saying, leave me out of it?
Big time.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like, when asked about Blade, he said, leave me out of it. That's the headline.
Yeah.
Actually, what they said was, with your experiences working on Marvel films, how do you feel about this? He's like, well, he'll leave me out of it. I haven't worked on a Marvel film yet.
Yeah.
Big difference.
But the big headline, the
Is
big
leave me
juicy
out of
headline is, Mahershala Ali says, leave me out of it when it comes to Blade. And that, unfortunately, again, that is a big trait with a lot of my fellow film fans is they only read the headlines and the tweets and they don't actually read the article to get the context. It's still though, the Blade situation is a mess regardless.
It's silly.
It's an absolute mess. And I really feel like they need to come out and announce that they're moving forward or they're killing it. Because this is an embarrassment to them. It really is. All right, what's next?
Anonymous, no spoilers. Love Superman. The camera movements were so awesome. That action scene was terrific. The very last scene had me crying. I personally don't have a relationship with my biological father, but I have a father figure that I love. God bless y'all.
Dude, again, no spoiler, but there's specifically a moment right at the end of the film, speaking exactly to what he's speaking to, that just filled my heart, man. It filled my heart. And I absolutely love that. And yeah, we were just talking about, he wrote this in 9 hours ago before we did the show. There's a Mr. Terrific action sequence where the camera movement was brilliant. It achieves the wanted effect of shaky camera, which is the wanted effect of shaky camera is to make the action feel intense.
Right.
But all it does is that it ruins a scene. So their cinematographer, though, chose this camera movement that increased the sense of the intensity of it all, the intensity of it, while at the same time making all the action clearly legible. Like you could totally see all the action that was happening. And it was a really nice technique that they used. All right, what's next?
Blake. I keep reading that this is a powered down Superman. Powered down from what? DCEU Superman struggled to lift an oil rig, lost a fight with Batman, was killed in the second movie he was in. That Superman, whom I love, couldn't punch planets either.
By the way, this is not a powered down Superman. That's all I'll say. It's not a powered down. I'm not going to say it's the most powerful Superman you've ever, but it is not a powered down Superman. That's all I'll say for now. All right, what's next?
Chip Crisper. Hey, John, Superman was so good. However, I'll never go to another IMAX screening. I don't think I've been more uncomfortable in the cinema in my life. The seats totally distracted and affected my experience. Dolby redo showing on Thursday. Well, are you really sensitive to just like seats? Like, because you mentioned Dolby. So if you want large, puffy, reclining chairs, that's going to be a big difference. But maybe you just had bad seats. Because the seats in the IMAX in Burbank are pretty cushy.
Yeah, I was in an IMAX screen last night, and while I absolutely prefer the Dolby reclining leather sofas,
of course,
100%, I did not have a bad experience. I don't find the IMAX seats uncomfortable. But again, it's like anything else. Like some people like firm mattresses, some people like soft mattresses. I guess it'll depend. But I gotta say for myself, while I absolutely prefer the Dolby seating, I've never had a problem sitting in an IMAX screen myself. All right, what's next?
That was interesting. Brandon Salad said, "Hey crew, saw news that in a recent Last of Us Part 2 update, they added a chronological mode for the story. Essentially creates a brand new way to experience the story. Very eager to try it."
That's interesting.
Yeah, so because there's no those cutbacks.
And all
forth.
it would take is some programming to get that to play out right.
Yeah.
That's a really neat idea. I might have to try that myself. Thanks for letting me know about it. All right, what's next?
Brandon is back. Says, "Hey crew, was absolutely delighted by Superman last night. Did not disappoint. Can't wait to see it again, but this time in Dolby. Always fun comparing the two experiences between IMAX and Dolby. I typically start with Dolby, and then when I know where I can take a bathroom break, I do IMAX because they're not as,
I saw it in IMAX last night, and it was a great experience, but I am seeing it in my preferred viewing tomorrow, which is Dolby.
Yeah.
The Dolby, the AMC Prime Dolby is still my number one viewing. I love IMAX. I love IMAX, but yeah, my first choice is usually Dolby, so I'm looking forward to experiencing it in there. All right, what's next?
We got Sci-Fi Extremist is back. Quick follow-up. I know the response is going to be, well, have you seen Our World type of thing, but it really bothered me how many people Lex had working for him who were cheering on and rooting against Superman. He probably pays decent, but still. It's all from a point of view.
I can't address it. That's getting into too many details. I can't address that, unfortunately. But I see what you're saying. But if you really, again, I can't explain. I'm just saying, if you really think about it, it makes sense. Anyway. All right, what's next?
James UK. Hi, John. My heart was filled with so much joy hearing that you love Superman. Superman means to me what Star Wars means to you. Unfortunately, I have to wait until Friday morning to see it, as it's released on the 11th in the UK. I cannot wait. So excited.
Oh, dude. Listen, I think you're going to have a really good time. Again, 96% is the audience rating. Now, that doesn't mean let me be clear. Remember this. That doesn't mean 96% of the audience thinks it's the greatest movie of all time. It means 96% of the people said this was good. Some of them probably thought it was, yeah, that was good. And some of them thought this was amazing.
Right.
But 96% just means that 96 out of 100 people said this was good, and 4 out of 100 say this was not good. So I feel like there's pretty good odds you're going to have a good time. I know I certainly did. All right, what's next?
Matan says, "Can Disney rip the Band-Aid and release the Avatar 3 teaser? I want to see what it is, the new color palette that exhibitors worldwide are crazy about."
My belief, Rob and I talked about this a week or two ago, I think, is that we are now entering that window of time that we're 5 or 6 months away from the movie coming out. This is when they should start their marketing campaign. And we believe, I don't know this for a fact, but we believe they're going to start running the trailers for this with Fantastic Four. I think that makes the most sense. So I think we only just have a couple of weeks to wait until by the way, they showed us some stuff of Avatar 3 at CinemaCon, and it looks really good. So I'm expecting within the next 2 weeks, we're going to get our first look at the Avatar trailer. All right, what's next?
Well, real quick, Peach says John was never going to dislike this film. He was pretty worried he was gonna dislike this film.
Dude, I've had like 5 movies this year that I've been really excited about that I ended up not liking.
I was nervous that you were going to come out and be like,
I mean, how many times have I come out of a movie that I've been super excited about going, well, I set myself up for that. There was a very good chance I may not have liked this film,
and
because my expectations were pretty high.
Yeah, there were people in our community that we kind of align with that were like, didn't like it. So I'm like, it's possible. We got.
So I had that girlfriend of mine who like completely hated it,
Mm-hmm.
like who saw it like weeks before I saw it, and it's like, oh shit. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Jiminy Crikey says, without spoiling, does the scene from the original Suit reveal photo, Soup sitting and putting his boots on, make sense with context? A lot of people were crapping on with the reveal, the whole why is he so relaxed with what is happening outside.
Well, I thought those people were idiots.
He looked beleaguered to me.
Because yeah, that's the thing. When that picture first came out, and by the way, I hate the red trunks. Like, I've been very public about that from the day they announced that they're putting the red trunks back on the outside. Henry's trunkless look is the much better look. That being said, when that picture came out, I said, this is clear. He's weary. You're looking at a guy who is weary, who's just clearly been through the ringer, and yet is still lacing it up to get back into the fray. Right? Like, I always thought that some people who looked at the picture like that, I think they were just intentionally trying to be idiots. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Okay. We got Johnny Coco. I've been an A-list member since 2018. This membership has become my favorite thing ever. I'm seeing 2 to 3 movies a week, attending multiple Q&As, access to the largest IMAX in the U.S. and New York City. In New York City, walking to theaters has helped me lose 85 pounds. Man, that is amazing. That part, like,
I'm not a fan of New York City. I'm a big fan of a lot of the people of New York City. I'm just not a fan of the city itself. I actually turned down a television job once because I didn't want to have to go to New York City. But I've had to be in New York City a bunch for different projects. And one of the things that I think is great about the city is everybody walks everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if they got a subway or something like that, they're walking to the subway and then from the subway walking. It's just a cool thing to see. Because in California, I remember when I moved to in Canada, we walk everywhere, right? Big country, whatever, but we like to walk. And remember when I moved here and it's like, oh, do you want me to pick you up to go to ArcLight? I'm not, it's like 20-minute walk up the street. I'll meet you there. I'll walk. And they're like, you walk? You walk? People in LA don't walk. But people in New York do. And I think that's a really cool thing.
just like the song "Walking in L.A."
Walking in LA. All right,
We
what's
got
next?
Superman. It was joyful, earnest, action-packed, funny, a non-stop, all-killer, no-filler of a movie. My only gripes are the choppy pacing at the beginning, and it felt like it ended quickly. Also, a couple things that I wish they fleshed out more. Did you submit a Rotten Tomatoes score?
I did not submit my Rotten Tomatoes score. Again, I am a registered Rotten Tomatoes critic, but I only usually register like one a year. But I will for Superman. The thing is, I needed to do today's show and create our video of the full review before I could submit it and register it on Rotten Tomatoes and then submit my score. Because I can't just go on Rotten Tomatoes and submit a score. I actually have to submit like the body of where my review came from, be that in video or written format, and then register. So I will do that sometime later today. And I will eventually register my score. Spoiler alert, it'll be a positive one. All right, what's next?
Okay, Just Breed says, story time. I bought tickets for the Prime Superman screening a couple weeks ago for a local theater chain, which is about 50 minutes away because it was the only one available. Decided to leave an hour and a half before because I didn't want to risk getting stuck in traffic. Well, as luck would have it, on the East Coast got hit with a storm.
Oh, yeah.
While I was on my way and I would be missing the first 30 minutes of the movie, I then realized that I am right next to a 70mm IMAX theater. Check Fandango and 2 seats opened up 30 minutes before the screening, right in the middle. What an experience. Enjoyed the movie and can't wait to go see it again. So he lucked out a little bit.
That's very much like a story that we had happen yesterday. We had a buddy of mine, Ryan, was going to be coming with us to Superman, right? And we had a ticket for him. But then him and one of our other friends made a decision to go spontaneously do a trip to Vegas for the weekend for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And we're going to come back on Wednesday. So I gave his ticket to Rob. But then he decided to come back in time for the Superman screen. It's like, well, now we don't have a ticket. And I jumped on Fandango and literally, our screening of Superman had one single ticket. Somebody must have canceled it because it wasn't even at the front. It was literally just the row behind us. There was one single ticket left. So I jumped on and I bought it for him so our buddy Ryan was able to come too. So it was very much kind of like your situation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's try to race through a couple here because we've only got like 2 or 3 minutes left.
All right. Anonymous, have you ever gone to a movie for a first date and one of you liked the movie, the other didn't?
Oh yeah, for sure. But see, this is the thing that makes movies awesome first dates. Okay? Love Dr. Campea is now in session. Movies are excellent first dates, but the problem is people tend to do them wrong as first dates. On a first date, you should not do dinner and then a movie. Because you're having dinner on your first date, you don't really have a lot of shared experiences yet. You don't have a lot of really good launching points for conversation and discussion. And then you go to a movie where you're literally not talking to each other for 2 hours. And then after not talking to each other for 2 hours, you go your separate ways. Rather, what you must do is do movie and then dinner, late dinner, or movie and drinks. That should be your date because you go into the movie, and now that the movie is over, you have a shared experience. So now you go to dinner or drinks, and you have something as a launch pad point for your discussion and your conversation because you have that shared experience. So yes, guys, once again, one of my major pieces of dating advice, it's fine if you've been in a relationship for a while, that's fine. But if it's like a first or second date, do not do dinner and a movie, do a movie and dinner or a movie and drinks in that order. All right, what's next?
We got Yikes with a two-parter. Hey, John, glad you loved Superman. I thought it was only okay. No spoilers. There wasn't enough character development, but the set pieces were exciting. I feel like this movie is what Martin Scorsese meant by a theme park film. It's 2 hours of fun, but the emotion is just surface level. Speaking of Scorsese, do you have any favorite theological films, Kundun, Silence, or The Last Temptation of Christ? I never saw Silence, and I wanted to.
My favorite, from a theological point of view, movie I think ever made is Andrew Garfield's, I think it's called Hacksaw Ridge. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
No. Is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah. That one I think is the most honestly, theologically, faith true movie I think that I've ever seen Hollywood produce.
And that was Clint Eastwood, right? Or who directed that?
No, Clint Eastwood did Heartbreak Ridge.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
yeah, he did Heartbreak Ridge.
Yes.
I can't remember who did Hacksaw Ridge. Anyway. Oh, Mel Gibson directed it. That's right. Mel Gibson directed that. So yeah, that one. As far as character development, I disagree. Like, they didn't go deep into Ultraman or deep into Engineer or deep into Jimmy or whatever, but they went deep in the characters they needed to, which specifically was, I think they did some really good development with Superman himself, which was the most important thing, and even Lois. So, and as far as the emotional punch, your experience was a little bit different than mine because one of the things that gave me such joy about the movie was that it did hit the emotional notes for me, especially in a number of parts that I just got kind of choked up. So for me, it worked on that level, but that's okay that it didn't for you. All right, what's next?
Okay, let me move up a little. One's a little spoilery. This one I think is okay. I Am Justice. I like Superman. Did not like the score. John Murphy's style doesn't sit well for Superman, in my opinion. I admit I'm spoiled by full orchestra guys like Williams, Goldsmith, Silvestri, etc. I would have preferred Silvestri, Powell, or Giacchino for this. How'd you feel about the score?
It took getting used to. Yeah. I ended up liking it, but it did take some getting used to. The music use in it. There's a couple of moments where the music use is amazing. And there's a couple where it's like a little bit getting used to, like the kind of music that plays as the credits start to roll. It's not what you're expecting out of a Superman movie, but it eventually kind of clicked for me. But yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from though on that. All right, let's do one last one today.
Okay. Ryan Johnson went to see Jurassic World this past week. Scheduled time was 12:30 with 25 to 30 minutes delay scheduled start. Technical issues caused the movie to actually start earlier at 12:42. I then saw Spinal Tap 7 o'clock showing.
Nice.
25 to 30 minute advertised started at 7:05.
Okay, listen.
That's weird, unless it was like a...
Listen. Technical issue, you know what? Technical issues happen. They always suck, but they're going to happen. Whatever. But the first moment, because I've been given AMC flowers because they're telling people, hey, the movie starts 25 to 30 minutes.
And if they're saying that
after the posted showtime, okay, they're putting that on their website, 25 to 30 minutes. If I go to a movie and it says 7 o'clock showtime, and the website says the movie will start 25 to 30 minutes, as their website now generally states, 25 to 30 minutes after showtime. If I go to a movie that I haven't seen yet, it's a little bit more forgivable if it's a movie I've already seen. But if I go to a movie I haven't seen yet, and it says 7 o'clock showtime, and I walk in at 7:25, which is the low end of starting 25 to 30 minutes after showtime, and it's already 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes into the movie, I'm going to fucking lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind. If I set aside my evening, take time out, could be doing other things with my time, travel to the movie theater, all that kind of stuff, and I'm in my movie theater seat when you told me the movie would be starting around, minimum 25 minutes after advertised showtime, and you say it's 7 o'clock, that means 7:25, I should be safe. And that movie's already 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes into it, I'm going to be fucking pissed. I am going to be so pissed. You're going to see me go on a burn AMC to the ground kind of a thing if that happens.
I could see if this was like a Spinal Tap, it was like a Fandango thing and
different, right? So that's why last night,
yeah,
when we went to go see Superman, we understood that we did have to be in our seats well before 25 minutes after, because this is a special presentation.
But according
it's
to
not
him,
a normal runtime, you know, so we understood that.
Yeah.
But if it's a Fantastic Four opening night, you know, Friday night, whatever, showtime, 6:30, if I'm in my seat by 6:55 and the movie's already been running for 5 or 6 minutes and I miss the beginning of the movie, I'm going to fucking lose my mind, man. I'm going to lose my shit. I'm going to be so mad. All right, guys. There are a couple more questions to go, but just a couple more. But we're out of time now. Don't worry, guys. Any questions we didn't get around to right now, we will pick up on tomorrow's show. So that'll do it, guys, for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys for sending in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Again, big thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett for being here and doing a great job as always. Thank you to our technical director, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys tomorrow.
And a big thanks to all of you for being here today. My name's John Campea, and until tomorrow, my friends, bye-bye.